TuneRC reached out to me the other day and offered to send me their new DJI O4 Pro toothpick. And I jumped at the chance. I'd seen some of the stuff that they'd been putting out, and obviously I've used the TuneRC Poly in my Itzy Evo. The quality of their stuff is really, really quite good. But I've never flown a drone of theirs, so this was going to be a new experience for me. And I've got to be honest, this little guy really toothpicks up the pace. Let's get into the build. Now, as you can see on the desk, what is included when you buy one of these kits is you get the motors required, you get the 3D print required to hold the O4 Pro. There is an O3 version as well. You also get the TuneRC Poly F4. You get the frame, obviously you get some stickers, and you also get a Nano ELRS receiver as well. You get literally everything you need, apart from obviously the O4 itself and the props. And I sort of understand why they let you pick your own props. It's a 3.5-inch toothpick, and it comes in with a 660 mAh at just 170 grams. Knock that down to 450 mAh, and you're under 150 grams. This thing is super, super lightweight. So, first of all, let's have a look at putting it together. Now, we'll do this relatively quickly, but we'll explain the process as we go through it. And my initial advice to you would be to get all of the parts out of the frame kit and put them all on the desk in front of you so that you've got them to hand. You're not looking around to think, well, do I need this here or do I need that there? And you want to start with the bottom plate. Now, the arms go in. There is a diagram on the website, and I'll actually put it on the screen now. But ultimately, you basically just need to follow that diagram as to where you put each screw. Now, I did actually get this wrong, hence why I'm going to put the diagram on the screen, and then I had to take it apart and just move some screws around. But ultimately, you're going to have two sides where you've got the same screws, and then on the other side, it's going to be a different screw because it's going to go through with a nut, the flight controller. So it is a little bit different. It's not difficult to build in any way, shape or form, which is why I obviously got it wrong because, as you all know, I am an idiot. Once you've done the first bit, then you put the other plate, the sandwich plate on top of it, push that down, and then you just follow the arms around. It really is a super simple design, but just look at the diagram just to make sure that you actually get it right, because it is quite easy to get it wrong if you're an idiot, and we all know that I am an idiot. Let's slide on. So you should now have something that semi-resembles this. Like I said, a couple of screws are in the wrong place, but I will move them, and obviously the diagram is on the screen. But you should have something resembling this. And the next job you're going to want to do is you're going to want to get your flight controller out of its little box, little bag, and you're going to want to put it in, or the gummies into the flight controller first, and then you're going to want to put the flight controller onto the board. Now just take special note again with this, which direction is forward, so that which direction you need to put that flight controller with the arrow facing forward. Again, it is quite easy to get wrong purely based on the fact that obviously everything is quite tight and compact. I'm making excuses for myself now. There really is no excuse for getting this wrong. It is really, really very simple. So you put the gummies in, you put the flight controller on, and then my advice to you now would be to then install the motors, which is obviously a dead easy process. So if I could give a little bit of advice here to any newbie builders, is obviously measure twice and cut once. If you've got the wires too short, you are going to have a problem. The second piece of advice I would give is always pre-tin your pads and pre-tin your wires. It makes everything so much easier. The other piece of advice I would give here, and I've seen people struggling with this over the past few weeks because of the number of messages I've had of people, is do not use lead-free solder. If you use lead-free solder, you are only going to cause yourselves headaches, stress, and potentially broken electronics as well. Lead-free solder can be done if you're more experienced, but certainly if you're the newer side of soldering and putting all this stuff together, it really is not worth the effort. Now, let me just zoom in here a second. The easiest way to solder your wires onto any board is you put the solder onto the board, you put the solder onto the wire, and then you heat the solder that's on the board. What I see people doing all the time is trying to heat the wire and then heat the solder. Heat the solder that's on the board. You will make it go molten, and then you just slide the wire in and pull the soldering iron away, and it will cool down around the wire, and it will make your life so much more simple and a hell of a lot less stressful. So again, repeat with me. We warm up the solder that we've pre-tinned on the pads. We then slide the wire into the molten solder, and then we remove the soldering iron for it to cool around the wire. So again, we warm up the solder and we move the soldering iron away after pushing the wire in. Now, for anybody who is new to this and is struggling, it's not easy. Like sometimes I actually move these wires around completely unnecessary and then actually move them back in a second because I'm an idiot. To anybody that is struggling with this though, and I may sometimes make it look easier than what it is for you guys. And I know that because, and I'll try and put a picture on screen now of my first ever soldering job. It was horrendous. Practice is the key. Get a practice board. Loads of companies do them. iFly, GEP-RC, loads of companies do practice solder boards. They look like actual flight controllers. They've got all different size pads on them, so you can start with the bigger pads and then work your way down to the smaller pads. But practice on that before you actually practice on your expensive electronics. But solder-wise, and I get asked this quite often, get something called either Kester solder or Team Black Sheep solder. They have essentially flux in the core, which is why you never see me using flux. And despite the fact I never use flux, as you can see, there's not much wrong with the solder joints. I'm not saying they're the best in the world, but there's not much wrong with them. And the reason for that is use the right tool for the right job. So my soldering iron is set to 480 degrees, and I'm using solder that has flux in the core and is not lead free. Well, I don't think it's lead free. Just don't use lead free. It's rubbish. So once you've done all your wires, you're going to want to wire up your ELRS receiver, unless you're using the DJI protocol with the 04. If you're using that, you won't need to do this step, but I'm not, so I do. And again, it's the same process. The pads are a lot smaller than they are for the motors, although the motor ones on these sort of toothpicks are quite small anyway. But again, the process is exactly the same. Have a look on the board. It tells you which is which. So we know that the first one is negative, the second one is 5 volt, and then we've got a TX and an RX. Doesn't matter which wires go on the TX and the RX. The color is irrelevant. Okay, the color makes absolutely no difference. The color is just for you to identify at the other end. So what we do is we'll add the heat shrink. Now, I was actually given a piece of advice by Tim on my Discord, who said just use a lighter. Now, I didn't use a lighter, but what I did, I thought, well, hang on a minute then. If he's talking about using a lighter, probably the easiest way of doing it. So I whacked my soldering iron to 500 degrees. And as you can see, I don't actually touch it. I get really, really close to it. And that extra heat really does melt that heat shrink nicely around the ELRS board. So thanks very much for that, Tim. I appreciate that. Eventually I'll get a lighter and I'll listen, but I'm a man, I don't listen. So away we go. Once you get to the other end, it's the same process. Let's just flick to the next clip. So first job obviously is to pre-tin the wires of the UART that you're going to use. We're using UART 1, I think, for this. Now, the other thing to bear in mind as well with this board doesn't have a plug for your DJI 04. So you're also going to have to solder that side in as well. Now, when it comes to knowing which wire goes where, your TX goes to your RX and your RX goes to your TX. As I said before, it doesn't matter which way around you put them. But at this point now, what we're doing is we're looking on the receiver to see which color is which. So we're picking the color that we've selected on the T on the receiver, and we're soldering that to the R on the board. Obviously the 5 volt and the ground wires, we are soldering to 5 and ground pads on the flight controller. And that's it. That's it. You've done it. Like I say, you do need to do this as well for the DJI O4 cable because there is no plug. But it is literally as simple as that. And then what we're going to do is we're going to jump in Betaflight and we're going to get this thing set up. Now, I have been asked to do a full Betaflight setup video, so this should hopefully serve as that for a few people. Now, it's telling us we need to calibrate our accelerometer. We'll come to that in a minute. The first thing we're going to need to do is we're going to need to check that everything is set right. So we're going to go to the setup tab, first of all. Sorry, the ports tab, first of all. And we're going to need to set our UARTs. Now, we know on UART number 1, we set our ELRS. And on UART number 3, we set our DJI O4 Pro. So just add serial to that for now, and we can apply the preset. Now, I do make a mistake here, so just bear with me. But we'll check first of all that we've got everything from the ELRS talking, which we can see now that we do. What we'll do first of all, because this requires the battery to be plugged in, so we'll deal with this first of all. So we've checked all the switches are working. So if we just now go into the modes tab, and we're going to add our arming switch, our beeper switch, and any other switches that we want to add, we'll add here. If you don't know how to do this, you click add range, change where it says aux 1 to auto, and then just press the button on your controller that you want to use for that particular function. So again, we'll scroll down to, I think, what do we choose now? I'm not sure what we choose now. Give it a second. Prearm. So press add range, move it to the end, and then where it says aux 5, just change that to auto. I know that aux 5 is my prearm because obviously I set this up all the time. But if you don't know which button it is, all you've got to do is just press auto and then press the button. And then the next button press that you press on that controller will set it to that switch. And if you don't like it, just go back to auto and press something else again. It's not a problem. So again, we've set it to auto, we've pressed a button, it's changed it to aux 3, and we've hit save. We're also now going to do something else, and I can't remember what we're going to do. Probably turtle mode, I think. Let's have a look. I'm sat here stroking my beard while I wait. Chop, chop, quads, chop, chop. Yeah. So again, we know which one that's on, but we're just going to leave it as auto. We're going to press it. Now, what we'll do now is we're going to just press that button and press it again, and it gets rid of all the other modes. And we can see that the arm is working and pre-arm is working. But we can see, look, on aux 3, we've set them both in the same position. That's no good. So we'll move the turtle mode to the end. So turtle mode will not kick in until you're in position 3 of that switch. And that is our modes and our switches all set up. Okay, so we don't need to touch anything else in here again now. We are done. So if we move back up now to the setup, to the setup tab, put the drone on a flat surface and hit calibrate accelerometer. The other thing we need to do is make sure that that accelerometer is working in the right way, which we'll check in a second. Now come down here, there's a few things that we're going to need to change. And we can see straight away as we scroll down, our max arming angle is set to 25 degrees. We need to change that. You can add a pilot or a craft name by all means. I actually add a pilot name, but then in the camera setup, I select craft name. So you don't actually see it, but it doesn't matter anyway. And we'll also set RX loss beepers as well. So if you have a failsafe and your drone goes down, it will automatically start beeping. You need to make sure that air mode and OSD are both enabled here. We don't need GPS enabled because we don't have one. And then press save and reboot. And again, you're now done in that screen. Move down to power and battery. Now we're going to be using LIHV, so this needs to be set to 4.4. You're only going to be charging to 4.35, but if it happens to go to 4.35 and you've set it to say 4.4 or whatever, 4.3 or 4.2, it'll suggest that you've got a dead 3 cell instead of a fully charged 4 cell. Now in here, there's a couple of presets that we're going to need to apply to get this board set up, because this is a brand new board. This is not a bind and fly, so this is how we set it up. Now, and the first one you're going to want to apply is the WTF OSD thing preset. Now I make a mistake here and I actually select the wrong UART for whatever reason. I select UART number 1, it should actually be UART number 3, but this is preference based on whatever you have soldered that to. So don't copy the UART that I've selected. All you need to do is copy the UART that you've soldered it to. The next thing is I will select the ELRS preset, And this will just make things a little bit smoother, a little bit more locked in, and it makes a little bit more sense. You select the hertz based on what your radio is set to. So my packet rate is set to 250 hertz. That's what I select, and then that's the other options that I select. And I hit save and reboot, and it applies that preset. And we'll come in to one final preset because the PID on this now is completely blank, and we need to apply a PID tune to it. I haven't tuned a toothpick before, so I actually took advice from TuneRC and my friend Waxless as to which one is best for this. Now, you can actually see, even though nothing has happened, it's refusing to connect to Betaflight. And this is one of the reasons why I detest micro USB cables. For absolutely no reason whatsoever, it can now not read the board. I unplug it, plug it in, power it, unpower it. The only way to fix it is to completely reboot the PC, and then it works. So a reboot later, and we're back in again, and we're going straight to the presets tab. Now, I actually think I may have selected the wrong preset based on what other people have said, but this is the preset that I've selected, and you'll see how it flies. So I went with Brace Toothpick from Mouse FPV, I think. Let's have a look. Yeah, that's the one I went with. Now I did select, I think, let's have a look. Yeah, I went with D-Shot 300, and I've since changed that. Selecting here what you want to select. You want dynamic idle, standard LiPo 4S, but we're using LIHV, and then everything else I've just left. Press pick, agree, save and reboot, and that's this section now done and set up. What will happen again now is my PC will again refuse to connect in a second, and we'll have to reboot. So bear with us if the clips jump around a little bit, but I'm trying to do this in as straightforward a way as possible to help as many people as I can. And I'll probably put this out as a separate video as well. So we've done everything there, and we can have a look at the PID tuning section now. And this is the PID tune that it's applied. For anybody that wants to copy this, you can either apply that preset, or if that preset ever vanishes for whatever reason, I don't imagine it will do, but if it ever does, just come in here and copy this. The rates I'm going to use are going to be 1400 on roll and pitch and 1200 on yaw. And then 10 for center sensitivity. Let's move on. So moving on past there now, we can go past the receiver because we've done that. We've done the modes tab. So the other thing we're going to need to do is check what the motors are set to. Now, they're currently set to props in. I always advise everybody to set it to props out by clicking that reverse motor direction. What you're then going to need to do, again, I think this is where it fails to connect, but what you then need to do is plug a battery in and test to make sure that all the motors are indeed going the right way. Do that with your props off. Do not do that with your props on. So for demo purposes, we actually go through the whole process of making sure that all the motors are in the right place. So make sure that's not ticked. I ticked that by accident. Click on reorder motors, and then click on I understand, and then click start. And what will happen now is it will start automatically revolving, rotating a motor, and then you just need to click which one is which to make sure that each motor is set in the right position. Again, once you've done that, press save and reboot, go back into the motors, and now you're going to want to check motor direction. You can do it individually or with the wizard. The wizard is now spinning all the motors in the directions as shown on the screen. If any are wrong, if you just click on it like that, it will then reverse it from whatever it's doing and send it the other way, and so on and so forth. And then all your motors, once you've checked all this, should then be going in the right direction. And still with your props off, the last thing I would advise you to do is click this button here to say I understand the risk, and you can now arm the motors. All 4 motors are armed, and we're looking for where it says E. That's an error sign. That'll tell us if we're getting any errors from the D-Shot. Couple of quick blasts, couple of quick pumps, we're getting 0 errors whatsoever, which means our solder is good, our motors are good, our connections are good, and we can now move on to the OSD. The OSD is a personal thing. You can set this up however you want. Ultimately, I prefer generally to have a relatively minimalistic OSD. So if I've got a GPS, I want the speed, the home direction, and the height to know that I'm staying legal, of course, officer. For anything that doesn't, generally all I want is my link quality, my DBMI, and what my cell average voltage is currently on. Apart from that, there's not much else that I really use personally. I tell a lie, I also use throttle position as well to know how much throttle I've got. The reason I do that is because it's easier to profile the throttle. Now, I know a lot of people do have issues with controlling their throttle, and what you can do is you can actually add a little bit of expo to your throttle just to make it easier for you. I'll show that off in an upcoming video because I haven't actually demoed it here, but we'll do that as like a newbie series because it is really good to just help you guys who are struggling with your throttle control. But once you've done that and you've done that, hit save and you're done pretty much in Betaflight. Then you have set up a complete fresh board with nothing on it, and now it's ready to go out there and test fly. Except that is, of course, for the fact that you have to activate your DJI O4 Pro if you're using a brand new DJI O4 Pro, which I am, and for demonstration purposes, I'll show you exactly what you need to do. Now, my advice, make your life easier. Plug a LiPo into your drone. Make sure there's no props on it, remember. Plug a LiPo into the drone and then plug your USB into the O4 itself, not into the drone. Open DJI Assistant 2 Consumer Drone Series. Because you've got a battery plugged into it, what will now happen is it will instantly pop up with this activation prompt once it loads. Any second. There we go. So click on the O4 Pro and your activation prompt will promptly arrive on screen. Now I did this quite slow so you guys could follow. I maybe should have done it a little bit faster. And there is the activation prompt. Make sure you signed in, press start activating. It'll come up with your email address and then activation is successful. My advice to you then is to unplug the battery just to keep everything cool, because you can do the firmware update without the battery in, but you can't do the activation without the battery plugged in. So we've activated it. Now all we need to do is update the firmware. We've removed the battery. It's come up again, DJI O4 Pro. It's already activated. And we just need to then click on the latest firmware update and it will do it for you. Now, something that I've noticed has caught a few people out is once you've done all this, you're not actually fully activated. You also then need to plug your goggles into the DJI Fly app. It's a bit weird. I don't know why we have to do that extra step. I genuinely don't, but because you're essentially activating it again on the same account, it doesn't make any sense. But anyway, so what you do is you turn your drone on, you turn your goggles on, turn your controller on as well if you're using the DJI controller. Once it's all connected to each other, it'll say in the bottom corner, connect to DJI Fly Outdoors. You need a USB-C to USB-C cable if that's what your mobile phone is. Plug it into the goggles, plug it into your phone, and then open the DJI Fly app. Download that only from DJI.com. Do not download it from the Play Store. There are paid versions of it. That DJI Fly app is completely free. So if you've got a DJI Fly app that you're having to pay for, you are being scammed. It is a completely free app, but it's not available in the App Store. Again, I see so many people caught out by that. I feel that it's my duty to at least mention it to you guys just so you know. So once that's done, that's going to then update. And like I say, just plug it into the DJI Fly app once you finish this step before you even go outside, because you'll forget your cable if you're like me. Do it in the house. It's not a problem. Once it's done, it's connected. That is it. Just set your camera parameters and get out there and fly. And when we talk about camera parameters, I do get asked quite a lot, what is the best camera settings to use? What should I use? When should I use it? There is no simple answer. You are basically using a flying camera, and the best thing I can advise you to do is to learn what's called the exposure triangle. But I can give you a few little tips. Never shoot in auto. I am currently investigating a serious case of jello with the O4, as I'm sure most of us are. And so far my conclusions are the people who are flying in auto camera settings are having way more jello than people that are flying in manual camera settings. So as an example, this particular flight here on screen was set to 60 frames per second, super wide with rock steady, 100 ISO, because obviously that's going to be the cleanest possible picture you can get. And then the only other thing is I didn't bring an ND filter out and it was quite bright, so my shutter speed was set to 1/500. Now, that means that this flight doesn't look as smooth as it possibly could. If I'd have put an ND filter on there, so looking at today, probably an ND16 looking at the footage, That would have then allowed me to set my shutter speed to 1/120th, and it would have made everything a lot smoother. But you do just have to bear in mind that, you know, whilst that would have made it a lot smoother on this flight with these settings, every time the weather or the conditions change, those settings are going to need to change. Now, I will do a bit of a camera masterclass. You are going to have to bear with me. I've got loads and loads of projects on, but I will do a camera masterclass. My background is photography. I was a professional photographer for many, many years. I shot some of the most incredible pictures you've ever seen, if I do say so myself. So when it comes to settings, I will always use manual settings, whether it be taking pictures or videos, because you've got so much more control over getting that picture right, rather than letting essentially a computer decide, oh, does it look a bit too dark in that shadow as you're diving down? Quick, let's brighten everything up. Oh wait, we've come out of a shadow, let's darken everything down. Now, I fully admit this particular flight here, if you look to the left of the screen, is really overexposed because of where the sun was, and like I say, we could have resolved that without too much of a problem with an ND filter, but we didn't. You know, it's just one of those things. If I was flying seriously and sort of on a more professional role, then obviously I would have ensured that I had that ND filter to make sure. Again, you're going to want the GEP RC ND filters for this. The other ones won't fit it because of the position of the camera. So that's that. Like I say, we will have more details on camera settings and stuff, but hopefully that's helped. Now, I'm going to shut up for a second, let you enjoy a little bit of this flight, and then we're going to switch back to the field where Boy Wonder and I was doing a live video. And we're going to have a couple of flights at the field, so you can hear sort of Boy Wonder and I chatting away to the chat. If ever you do see us on live, you know, we will always chat to you, so please do drop in, and yeah, enjoy the flight. It takes off on about 20% throttle, even with this bigger battery. It's unbelievable.
Do you have a GPS in it?
No, I don't.
You should put one in so you can do a speed test.
I should do.
Because I'm guessing that's fast. Our clock says laughing emoji. Bro, that's amazing. I think they're two.
I think he's laughing about the comment of the Radio Master Pocket, because everyone knows I hate the Pocket. Do you know what, actually? I've flown that Pocket quite a few times today, and actually, I don't hate it as much as I thought I would do. The difficulty is, and I did a live earlier on, like my hand is actually bigger than the Radio Master Pocket, and that's the problem I have with it. It's not that it's a bad controller, far from it. It's just literally my hand is so big. Oh, that is the world's best Juicy Flick trademark. Into a power loop. I must admit, I do wish you guys could see this. Okay, Boy Wonder. To be fair, there is actually a cable in the back of this car, but I'm sat on it. Well, I'm not sat on it, but I'm sat on a...
TV, have you tried lowering the pocket gimbals with spaces? I love mine.
I haven't. The reason I haven't is I'll show you in a second when I land just how big...
Says, that's amazing.
Thanks, Connor. Waxless, I will show you in a minute when I've landed after this flight just how big my hand is versus the controller. Now, this is one that I bought to give away to Patreon subscribers. So we've got a Patreon where I don't make a penny from it. Literally everything gets reinvested. So however much money we've got in it, it gets given away to people on that tier at the end of the month. And this month it's going to be a Pocket. Once we get more members, we'll buy more expensive things and we'll give them away. So this Pocket actually isn't mine. It's what I'm reviewing to then give away. And I just figured I might as well fly it with this. A nice little lightweight bundle, really.
Just put your glasses on, nice.
They are nice glasses, aren't they? Such a good quad, this. And that preset, by the way, Waxless, is brilliant. You can induce a little bit of prop wash from it, but actually, unless you're trying to induce prop wash, you will struggle to induce any prop wash. Who's calling? Who's calling?
Jack said, this is my first live with FPV drone. Nice clap.
Welcome, welcome, Jan. I hope you're well. I very nearly hit the top of the tree then, but I didn't, because this thing has got such power to weight ratio that even when you get close to getting into danger, you can easily get yourself out of it. I can't believe this thing only costs like $110, you know. You get everything apart from the props. You get an ELRS receiver, you get the flight controller, you get the frame, you get the TPU. You literally just need to add the 04 yourself and some props. So good.
One comment from me, I am responding, at this TV said, the mouse FPV preset for the TP3, he shot 600 and feels great.
Yeah, you're absolutely right.
Then I said, and commentator.
Wow.
I feel a long word I can think of.
And the commentator. At least you're not a naysayer, Boy Wonder. That's the most important thing.
I don't know what that means.
Oh, I nearly hit the ground. But I didn't. I didn't. I did a thing.
JVIP Games said, first time out on the same last weekend with the
Oh, nice.
RC Nexa Trophy.
Nice. That Avion Nexa 3.5, I think we may have been responsible for making them go out of stock because I was so positive about it, but it is such an amazing quad. And oh, new person entered the chat.
Rustler FMXXX said yo.
Yo, Rustler. Right. I'm on 4 minutes and 30 seconds flight time at 3.5, 3.6 volts when recovered. This thing is brilliant, by the way. Right, let me just land. Let me concentrate to land. Let's dive in now to our community spotlight, and I want to start by thanking our incredible Patreon members. No matter what tier you are on Patreon, you will get a shout out. So that's Trinity FPV, James Mason, and SOS Death Valley, and Drone Life. Thank you so much for your support. Now, the ones on the FPV Insider tier, which is Danios, Adventure Printing, Ola Bergervel, and Eddie Emery, are all entered into the competition to win this particular Radio Master Pocket that you can see on screen now. If you want to enter that competition, you will need to join the FPV Insider on Patreon, patreon.com/squadding quads. I also want to thank you've got until the video is released, by the way. I also want to thank our member on Instagram, it's Luke FPV, for his support as well. And also I want to thank our YouTube members as well. We've got Abdul Ben Jamal, Reigning Square FPV, Lifestyle FPV, SOS Death Valley, Trinity FPV, 420 FPV, GN CRC, Hello Outlaw, Mr. Oreo, Flyzone FPV, JFPV Gaming, Sippy, Simca, Chaser FPV, Tim S, FPV Addict, Droney, Christopher Clayton, Silicon Photography, Club Alexandra, Boy Wonder FPV, Connor Clark, Hans Solo, Dope FPV, Mark Duplex, Harry M Photography, JR FPV, James III of Boston, Phil Anderson, not here, Oink, Onyx FPV, I always get it wrong, Barry Morgan FPV, and Only Drones. If you want to join them on the members bench, it can cost as little as $1.99 a month on the YouTube app. Now, let's have a look at some of your comments. Chibirio says, I would really like the Radio Master because I'm going to start to fly FPV. Well, the Radio Master Pocket Crush is still available for you to win. As you can see here, I am testing it, I am filming it, I am getting ready to do the review. It will be out in the next few days. Once that review is out there, whoever's on that Patreon FPV Insider tier will have a chance to win it. The next comment, whilst it's one that's positive towards me, is really nice to review. Never watched one of your videos, mate, but honestly, I absolutely love that intro. This review is great. Not many have made reviews for this new Whoop. That was of the Newbie Drone Humming Bee version 4. Absolutely great little ripper. If you're in for a tiny Whoop, I suggest you go and check that out now. Thanks so much for the comment. Really does really help. And CCC0122 says, did you see the guys from Newbie Drone take this out over a lake? I believe it was about 1.4 kilometers. Again, that was the tiny Whoop of the last video that we did. I didn't see that video, but I am going to check it out after I've finished watching this one. So thanks for the heads up. If you want to be involved in the next Community Spotlight, just leave a really good comment, make it funny, make it whatever. Just make it stand out, and you'll be in with a chance of being one of the 3 random comments picked for the next video. Right, let's head back to the car park and find out exactly what I thought after a few days flying this drone. Probably all the flight's done now with the Tune RC toothpick. We've obviously gone up and over those hills all the way to the top. It is quite windy. You can probably hear on the camera just how windy it is. The trees are not particularly moving, that one's swaying a little bit, but it is windier than you think, especially as you get up there. You can actually see, I don't know if you can see on the camera, but the trees up there are all really moving quite a lot. What do I think of it? Well, we'll go back to the studio and discuss it in depth, but it surprised me just how good it is. Right, I'm going to stop now because I'm absolutely freezing. I'll catch you in the studio. So as always, we get to the end of the video and we ask the question, who is this for? And I was initially a little bit skeptical. $110 for a full build. Admittedly that you've got to build yourself, but still $110. Capable of holding an 04 Pro. Could it really be that good? And I think if we look at the footage, I think we've answered that question. I think we've answered the question that actually this is a bit of a baller quad, and it's also an absolute bargain as well for what you're getting. It flies so smooth it should be called the Tooth Slick, never mind the Toothpick. This is the only time a toothpick will make your dentist jealous. Anyway, let's stop with the toothpick puns and get back on topic. So, who is this for? This is for anybody who I would say is intermediate into their FPV journey. I probably wouldn't recommend it to newbies, and there's a few reasons for that. Obviously, one, the solder pads are a little bit small. Unless you're a newbie into FPV who's got experience in soldering, of course. The other side, flip side as well, is you're also going to need to set everything up in Betaflight, but we have got the video for it. Now, the one thing I didn't touch on, and I didn't realize this until after I'd finished filming it because I had to go back out and fly it again, is the board comes set to 24 kilohertz. If you leave it on 24 kilohertz, your footage will be completely unusable. You will need to reflash BlueJay to 48 kilohertz. Once you've done that, everything is absolutely fine, as you would expect. The 03 was exactly the same. The 03 had exactly the same issue. If it wasn't set to 48 kilohertz, it was just a nightmare. So, you know, it's something worth noting for anybody that does sort of struggle with vibrations. It's not Jello, and it's not the 04 Lite issue. However, it's very similar. The 04 Lite is just a lot more susceptible to it. So make sure you change that. And apart from that, as long as you can solder this thing, you can copy along and follow in this video to set everything else up. It's dead easy and dead straightforward. Would I recommend that you do it? Absolutely. Would I recommend it at this price point? Absolutely. Does it fly really well? Absolutely. Is there any negatives? I mean, it's a toothpick, so it's going to be fragile. You're not going to want to take it bando bashing. But it's using the right tool for the right job, and the right tool for this is just such a chilled, laid back, but also crazy in your face drone that you can use pretty much anywhere, apart from obviously bandos. I would highly recommend this. I think this is brilliant. I do. I genuinely think this is brilliant. And for just over $100, I think it's an absolute bargain. As everything's getting so much more expensive, and this is dropping at this price, it just seems crazy not to. If you've got any questions whatsoever about this build, please do drop them in the comments down below. And I will leave a link down below to purchase this. As far as I'm aware, it's not an affiliate link. Ideally, I try not to use affiliate links wherever possible. Sometimes I have to. It's just the way of the marketing beast. But I don't think this is an affiliate link. However, if it is, it won't cost you any extra to use it anyway. But I'll mark it affiliate if it is. Like I say, any questions whatsoever, leave it down below. I would highly recommend that you pick up one of these. It's super fun to build, super easy to build, really nice to fly, and it's super quiet as well. You know, the locations I flew in, I don't think anybody paid any attention at all. Until next time, peace out.